guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I just want to show you these latest two junk journals. So this particular one, I'll go through the first of the two journals first. So this one is using a hardback book cover, which I've obviously used front and back, and then basically I've just covered the entire front and back cover in this gorgeous pretty fabric, which is actually from my daughter's dress. I have actually used this fabric before on one of my nursery rhyme journals, and I actually thought I'd used the entire dress up, and then when I was actually looking through my stash to find something that I thought would look, you know, really nice with this journal, I came across the remainder of the dress. So, you know, I was quite thrilled to find that. So I had a lot of fun kind of using it again for the second time. So this soft net, I think, may have been the under skirt of this particular dress. It's, you know, it escapes my memory, but I think it might have been part of the underskirt of this dress. So on the rings themselves, they're the large rings here, and I've just attached some lace here that's been coffee dyed, and I left one piece very long, the other piece quite short, and I've kind of cut it into two. And then I've attached a little kind of charm here, and then also a little bulb pin with a button and a little tag that I made from the kind of paper pack itself. And then on the front cover I've layered up, this is one of my printables with some bits from the paper pack kit, and then some other bits from the paper pack. I've got a little kind of chipboard frame here, which I just thought complemented it nicely. I've popped that on here to some denim and some coffee dyed lace, some more coffee dyed lace here and here. And then I just made a little kind of flower down the bottom and just popped a little button in the centre there. I forgot to tell you the measurements. So this one is 6 inches by just literally over 8 inches, and it's quite chunky. So it's about 4 inches at the chunkiest kind of part. So going inside, I love, love, love these papers because, as you know, I absolutely adore colour. So, you know, I just love every single element of this little paper pack. So here on the front cover, I have obviously covered it with one of the background papers from the little pack. And all of the elements have been coffee dyed. So all of these kind of papers and the, you know, die cut elements, I coffee dyed the whole lot. So here I took one of the kind of cards from the paper pack. It's been coffee dyed. I just put some vintage book page there, layered up a couple of flowers with a little butterfly and a little piece of denim, tied some string round to obviously hold it closed, and then here you've got a little kind of booklet, and inside I've just attached some coffee dyed papers there as a little pad. So you've got kind of, you know, plenty of journaling on there. And then at the bottom I've just got one of my little die cut printables, which is a ticket, and some lace trim here and a bow, and then I just made a little ruffle from the fabric of the dress for matching the front cover, so that's up there. Then on the facing page, this was formed from an envelope which I stitched around to kind of form a large pocket, and then covered it with some of the paper, again all coffee dyed. Attached an airmail vintage envelope, which again has been coffee dyed, and then I've attached one of the kind of die cut pieces, and then I've put one of my little vintage, one of my printables here, which again I've inked it all up, and that's acting as a little tuck here. But I've obviously tucked it in before the glue was dry, so don't know whether I'll be able to peel that. It may have to stay down, and I'll have to get another one to tuck in there. Another ticket in there, and then here some more fabric trim from the dress, another little vintage button, and then some hessian up here, another one of my little printables up the top, and another vintage button there. So I just love that page, it looks so pretty. And then I just tucked in some coffee dyed paper that just folds out there, and just attached another little element from the paper pack. And then here in the side, in the pocket, I've just literally created a little folding kind of pad, just with a little piece from the paper pack there, and again that's all been coffee dyed. And then on this page, again, I've used an element from the kit. I've stitched around it on the sewing machine. It's all been coffee dyed. This here was one of those "we missed you while you were out" things that the Amazon delivery people popped through the door, but I just thought it went really nicely with the kit, so I just kind of tore it up and tea stained it and then popped it in. And that's layered up on some vintage book page, some more vintage book page here, and another element from the kit. Here we've got some fabric ruffle, and then here this is also a little pocket, and in there I've just got a little fold out of some coffee dyed paper that goes in there. And then on the facing page, this is just a couple of sheets of coffee dyed paper. It's actually slightly thicker. It's kind of, I think it's like 200 GSM cardstock paper, but it's just ivory and it's just been coffee dyed. So I just stitched it around to form, again, a similar size pocket to the ones that I made with the envelopes. And then I've just layered up some vintage book page and an element from the kit, and that forms a little kind of pockety tuck spot thing where I've just put a vintage playing card there and then one of my printables, and they just go in like that. A little fabric ruffle and a vintage button and another little printable down there. And then tucked in the side, this is one of my little vintage pieces that I've just, you know, copied it and coffee dyed it and just kind of folded it over, and then I just stuck a little butterfly on there from the paper pack. On this page again, you've got some vintage book page, one of the elements which I've used as a kind of pocket there, and then another little matching piece in a little oval shape that just tucks in. So I mean, these are great for kind of either photos or journaling really. So that goes in there. Layered up some more elements from the paper pack, a little flower and a ticket and a fabric ruffle there and some lace trim and a button. Then on this page, this was a square envelope, which again, I just kind of stuck it down and then cut the top open, popped on some paper from the paper pack, and then stitched it round on the sewing machine. It's all been coffee dyed and distress inked. And then I just popped on an element from the paper pack, and then that's another part of the, you know, while you were out kind of ticket thing that they put through the letterbox. A fabric ruffle there, and then here this is one of my little printables that just tucks in there, and then I just made a couple of little tags there from the elements that pull out, and they're just attached with a brad. So I thought they looked kind of cute, you know, one tucked behind and one hanging over. And I just am thinking I've forgotten to put something in here, so I'll try and remember to pop something in there. And then here on this page, I love, love, love this page. I've got here some vintage book page and then an element from the paper pack, layered up on some fabric and some coffee dyed lace. And then I've got here some more of that coffee dyed lace here, you know, different lace. And then more lace there with this fox poking out. He's from the kit as well. And then just a giant satin bow there. And then this is a tuck spot where I just made this little tag, which again, I love how this turned out. And this tag is actually from a Tim Holtz packaging, you know, Tim Holtz packaging. So basically what I did was I've stuck on some vintage book page and stuck on one of my little die cut pieces and then some vintage lace, one of the die cut pieces from the paper pack. I have just then popped on some denim here as a little tab and then attached a vintage button with a bulb pin. So love how that looks. And then at the top here, just to cover up the kind of big parts of the text, I just put some more vintage book page and another element from the paper pack. Obviously I left this little bit down here, but you know, that's only kind of one small bit of the text, but I just really love how it turned out. Obviously kind of lots of people do the altered packaging tags, and I've only done it once or twice, but I really liked this one. I thought it looked really cute. So that goes in there. And then inside here, I've just created a little kind of pad with some coffee dyed papers in there, and it's just been stitched down the centre, obviously on the sewing machine, and it's got some of the patterned paper that just tucks in there. And then on this page, again, I've got some vintage book page, and then a couple of elements from the paper pack and a couple of little distress inked, you know, flowers. I've just distress inked them in this gorgeous vibrant green. And then I've got some denim down here, some coffee dyed lace, and then I just popped a little centre in there. And I just literally made a little kind of flip out with some of the paper from the paper pack, and it's again been coffee dyed. And then this page, I've got one of the book page pockets, and I've decorated it up with some elements from the paper pack. So I've got here some an element from the paper pack, some vintage book page, some of the vintage coffee dyed lace, and a vintage button. And I love this one. It's this little squirrel, and that's how he was kind of sat on top of this little piece from the paper pack. But he looks so cute because now he's kind of poking up from the book page pocket. So I just thought he was just so cute. So you might not share my excitement for that, but I just thought he looks super sweet there. And behind there, I've just got one of my printables from my die cut printables. And then here I've just got a vintage, a fabric ruffle and a little flower, which I've kind of changed the colour of using the Dilution spray, and then a little button. And then again, I've just got a little flip out there. Oops, and then in the side, I also made it a little tuck spot where I just popped in a little folding piece. And then here in this pocket, I've got again another vintage piece of kind of paperwork, and this I have obviously copied it and coffee stained it, and then just popped on a squirrel on there. So I love doing that. I've done it lots of times in different journals, just popped on an item onto a random invoice or receipt or something. I just think it looks so cute. So that's that. And then this page, I really love how this one looks. It's got one of the large kind of envelope pockets, and then I've layered up various elements, some vintage book page, one of the elements from the paper pack, a couple of my printables from my die cut printables, and some lace. And then here we've got a little tag or ticket poking there. And then in here I made this large tag which slots into that pocket. And this has just got obviously paper from the paper pack, and then this layered up element from the paper pack. And then I really heavily distress inked this flower, and then pops that on some lace and a little button there. And on the back it's just kind of this plain green, and it's got some denim there stitched on as the tab. Oh, and it's got stitching around the edge. So I really like that tag. And then here I've just got a couple of tags which have been stitched together. Just, you know, they're just you know, card from the paper pack. So I just thought they gave you some extra kind of journaling space. They just tuck into the side there. Have to kind of be careful because they get slightly stuck on this bit of paper, but it's fine. And then I've got one of the envelopes from the paper pack. So again, it's just been coffee dyed, and then I just popped in a kind of paper piece from the paper pack. Oops. And then on the next page, again, one of those gorgeous images of that lovely squirrel. Sorry, every now and then I just find these strings from the hot glue, so I'm kind of picking them off as I go. It's got some of the vintage book page there, and then obviously this element of this squirrel, which I've just stuck on like a kind of large round pocket, and then this gorgeous polka dot. Some fabric ruffle down here, and a little felt red heart, which I just kind of cut out. And then I've just popped on this vintage button, which just obviously coordinates really, really nicely with the fabric. And that's just on a bulb pin and just kind of pinned on there. And then tucked behind this large tuck spot, I just popped a couple of, you know, sort of scraps of paper really. So they've just been coffee dyed, and this element here. And I just literally popped them all together, lined them all up, and then just held them together with one of those little mini pegs, which I just always think they're really sweet. So I've just popped that behind there like that. And then inside that pocket I have made another little just booklet. It's just got random pages, it's got some vellum and some other book page. This is that fly sheet book page things from inside a book. So quite a few pages in there, and that's just been stitched obviously to make that. That just goes in there. And then here on this side you've got some of the paper, some layered up elements and a little vintage postage stamp. And then here I just formed a pocket and again layered up some various elements. I did another one of those little flowers and another vintage button and postage stamp. And then just tucked in there I've just got literally a couple of kind of pieces from the paper pack which I just attached together with a brad. So they just go in there. I just thought they looked cute. And then I popped in a couple of sheets of coffee dyed paper just for kind of extra journaling space. And then here I've created a pocket just with one of the elements. I've just stitched it onto some vintage book page, added some fabric ruffle and a little flower kind of poking out at the side. And then I've just popped in one of those, what do you call this, a game card from that vintage game of Lotto that I've picked up recently. So that's in there. And then tucked in the side, I just literally popped a little envelope from the paper pack in there. So that's been coffee dyed and that just goes in there. And then on this page, I just layered up various elements. It's got some vellum. It's got another piece of one of those, you know, while you were out cards. And then stitched over the top is some of the vintage lace with the coffee dyed. And then here I've got some Rolodex card, which was gifted to me by Laura. I've got some vintage sheet music, another element from the kit, a little fabric ruffle, some lace and a little bow. And then just the word happy, which I just thought, you know, you can't go wrong with the word happy, can you? And then here I've just taken an element from the kit and it's obviously just been coffee dyed and pops in there. And then up here I've just made another one of those, sorry, I've just got another thread of hot glue string. I've just got another one of those little kind of pads which I've made just using coffee dyed papers there, and I've just stitched them across the top, so that just goes in there. And then on this page, love this page because again I just love green. I've formed a little pocket here with some of the paper from the paper packets, again all been coffee dyed, stitched it around onto the envelope, and then I've popped a little images of toadstools from the paper pack and the squirrel there, and then this kind of ribbon with a bow trimmed down the bottom. And then just tucked into here, and then I just popped some vintage book page down the side. And then again I just took another one of my little pieces of kind of vintage paperwork and just stuck on these little elements down in the corner. So I just really like how they look, they're just super fun. And then in the side of there I have got this large envelope thing. It's kind of like a planner envelope. I'm sure this was from K & Company. I've had these in my stash for a really long time. Kind of was hoarding them because I do really like them. But they actually were quite big. It was quite a bit bigger than this. So I kind of trimmed off the top so as it would fit neatly into here. And it's been coffee dyed. And obviously I'd layered up element from the paper pack. And then inside there, I've just literally popped in another piece of paper from the paper pack. So that's in there. And just slots into the pocket there. And then on this side, again, I took an element and stitched around it, stitched a little butterfly on there. A fabric ruffle with a vintage button, some vintage book page and some vintage postage stamps. And then I just made again another little booklet just with some coffee dyed pages there that I've just stitched on the sewing machine. That just tucks in. And then here, now this is probably my favourite part of the whole journal. I made this paperclip which I had such good fun making. So I'll show you the paperclip in a moment. The paperclip's holding this flap down, so I've just literally got this flap here which I've just stitched kind of across the top to the red fabric. It just flips up, and then behind there I've got a pocket, various things layered up here, and that's just got a little coffee dyed sheet there that comes out. So the paperclip itself was obviously holding that down. I'll just show you the paperclip, which I just thought was so fun. So it's just some card, obviously, from the paper pack itself. It's got layered up vintage book page, some elements from the paper pack, some denim, some lace, and a flower and a vintage button. And then obviously just formed a kind of paper clip on the back. So it's kind of chunky. It feels really nice for some reason because it's quite heavy. So I really love it. And yeah, that just kind of holds that closed like that. And then inside the pocket, oops, now clips that in. So inside the pocket, I've just got another one of those little coffee dyed sheets there. So I'll pop that back in, and then obviously pop the paper clip back on. And then over the page, so this is the final page. I've got here another element from the paper pack, and that's just got this little piece tucked here behind it, just coffee dyed, and that just slots in there. And then I've just got one of my die cut pieces, which is a little ticket, some more of the little ruffle, and some more of the vintage ledger. And then on this page, the inside of the back cover, again, it just matches the front cover in that, you know, it's the same paper. It's just been distress inked and coffee dyed. And then here's some vintage book page, and I have just made here a little kind of tuck spot where I've just popped in a kind of folding kind of flip there, again all coffee dyed. So, and this has been stitched on the sewing machine and got just various elements kind of layered up there. And then you've just got some fabric ruffle kind of going down the side. So I really love that book. I always love colour. So yeah, for me, I had really a lot of fun kind of making that. And I'd had that paper pack for several weeks now. And obviously we'd been on holiday and, you know, things like that. So I hadn't got to play with it at all. But I had such a lot of fun with it. It was really nice to use. So, and it was quite nice mixing it with some vintage elements and obviously, you know, the paper pack itself. So that one is sold, as I say, to Shelley. So Shelley, I hope you really like it, and I will pop that in the post, you know, hopefully today, but probably tomorrow now. So that's that. And then the second journal. Now, as I say, this one is super tiny. So it's not my regular size journal at all. Sorry, I keep knocking the camera. It's 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches, and by about 2.5 inches or 2 and a bit inches at the chunky point. This one has been bound with some soft kind of mustard coloured net. Really like using the soft net to kind of, you know, tie them closed. I think it works really nicely. And as I say, this one has been made using an A5 envelope, which I don't think I've ever used an A5 envelope before. So this was kind of a new experience for me. I had good fun making it. I have then covered the envelope with fabric, and what I did, I've actually Mod Podged the entire fabric so that it's kind of slightly more durable and kind of wipe downable. I know that's not a word, but because I distress inked it up, and I thought actually I'm going to kind of Mod Podge it. So you can probably hear it sounds kind of rough and it feels kind of rough, but I'm hoping it would kind of be, you know, quite resistant then, and you'd be able to kind of wipe it and things like that. So, you know, I don't know, but that was the plan. So obviously I've layered up some elements here on the outside. I've put some lace, some vintage sheet music, an element from the paper pack, one of my printables, another little element from the paper pack, little flower that I made with some vintage lace, little vintage button, which still had the little bit of thread in there, and then a bow there and some coffee dyed lace down the side. And then on the inside of the front cover, I've just popped a little book page pocket in there. I've layered up some coffee dyed lace and a distress inked flower, and then a bow. I've popped on an element from the paper pack itself, and then tucked in there is just one of my little printable die cut pieces. And then on the facing page I just popped one of the elements from the paper pack. So this is just some coffee dyed paper. Then on this page it's obviously some scrapbook paper. Popped on an element from the paper pack, some vintage lace trim, and a little distress inked flower. And then behind there, I've just made this cute little kind of folding little booklet, and it's just got a sheet of ledger paper all coffee dyed, and obviously that's just been stitched down the middle. And then some vintage sheet music and an element from the paper pack there. That just tucks in. And then on the next page, I've got another little book page pocket. I've got some vintage lace here, vintage postage stamp, a little element from the kit with the toadstools, some more of that lovely fabric, some more lace trim, and another one of those gorgeous bows. And then I've just tucked in one of the oval shaped pieces from the paper pack in there. Then you've got another couple of sheets of coffee dyed paper. Then one of the envelopes here. And then tucked into the envelope, I just literally made a kind of fold out, flip out kind of card booklet thing. That just tucks in there. Then on this page, I've just taken an element from the paper pack. It's all obviously coffee dyed. Just popped it down with some more coffee dyed lace and a couple of flowers which have all been distress inked and things. And then in there, I've just got a little folding kind of flip of coffee dyed paper. Oops, I can't remember now how I put that in. Like that. And then on this page, I've just got a book page kind of belly band running down the middle. I've got 2 different types of lace trims there, and then some matching lace trim down the bottom with an element from the paper pack, and then just taken one of the elements from the paper pack that's been coffee dyed and popped it in behind there. And then some more coffee dyed paper, and then an envelope here, which actually I must have forgotten to put something in, so I will put something in there. And then some vintage sheet music, and then a little kind of page from the paper pack, flap from an envelope that's going obviously the other way. Then here I kind of made a belly band going kind of this way, and basically it's a kind of tuck from either side, if you see what I mean. So you could kind of tuck things from either the top or the bottom, like that. So this, I can't remember, nope, I glued these down. And then I've got some vintage lace trim, a little bow, and some coffee dyed lace and a vintage button. And then that's just got a little folding kind of piece of coffee dyed paper with some toadstools there. And then on the next page, I've just made a little corner pocket with some vintage book page, stitched around it, and then popped a little flower on there that I have distress inked. It's got some coffee dyed lace and a postage stamp. Then it has an element from the kit. And then here, just some vellum, which I've layered up some vintage kind of book page and things on. And then I've just popped in some vintage, not vintage, sorry, coffee dyed ledger sheets and just stapled them in to form a little booklet. That just tucks in there. Some more coffee dyed paper, and then this, the centre of the signature. I just left this plain with this coffee dyed paper because it's quite thin paper. I don't think it could have really held much embellishments because, you know, it may have torn the paper. But I thought it was quite pretty on its own like that. So that's that. And then on this side, again, I've got some more of the element from the paper pack, which I've just popped down with one of my printables, some coffee dyed lace, little flower, and then this is some of my new kind of bling that Laura gifted me, so loved using this lovely green. And then I've just popped a vintage lace you know, page turner tab on the side, and just literally a little oval tag that kind of goes in there. This page, I love this page. It's just, yeah, really like it. So obviously you've got the other side of that little tab, and then you've got this gorgeous paper red flower in the middle, one of the elements from the paper pack. And then I've got a top loading corner tuck spot, which I must have obviously forgotten to put something in there as well, so I will rectify that and pop something up there. And then I've got some vintage lace and another element from the paper pack and another one of my printables. So obviously when I get round to it, that will be a little tuck spot at that corner. Then you've obviously got the back side of this envelope, and tucked into there I have made a little envelope which I've stitched on the sewing machine the kind of flap, and the flap tucks into this chicken piece from the paper pack, and then it just opens out like a little pad inside like that. So that's that. So actually, for a very small journal, this actually has got quite a surprising amount of journaling space. You know, I tried to kind of do it so that there was lots of room for journaling, and I had good fun making it. It was fun to do something kind of small. Here I've got another piece of lace and another element from the paper pack, and then here I've got another book page pocket. Again, another one of those squirrels and some more coffee dyed lace, some more vintage lace there, and a bow. And then I've just made a little kind of tag here with a stamped image, little flower and a brad, just holding those together. It just tucks in there. And then on this page, I have just got an oval element from the paper pack, flower, one of my little die cut pieces, and that's just been stapled on to the flower. And then I've got some more of that lace trim, and the flower is holding a little ticket from my Principles, and that just goes there like that. And then tucked in behind here, I've got some doily there. I've just made a little kind of folding flip out again, and the flap from the envelope, coffee dyed paper. Now, a bit like the other journal, the larger ring bound one, I had fun here making some paper clips again. So this one, again, very similar. It's been stitched around on the sewing machine. It's got the vintage book page, the sheet music, little fox, denim and some fabric. Stitched it all around, but this time I left it as a little kind of pocket here in the side as well. So just tucked into the pocket, I've just got a little fold out of some coffee dyed paper. That just goes inside the pocket like that. And obviously the paper clip is here on the back, and that just clips on to the page like that. And then here on this page, I've got another one of these book page pockets. I think these are Patricia Viramonte's book page pockets, which, you know, I really like using those. So, but this is just a small version of one. And again, it's got another element from the paper pack. It's got some sheet music and a bit of lace trim and a flower vintage button. And then here I've just layered up one of my little Principles on top of this little tag, and I've just popped that in there. And then I've got some lace trim, and behind there is just a little piece of coffee dyed paper that just folds like that. And then on this page, I have just got again a kind of book page belly band running down, and it's got some lace trim at the top, an element from the paper pack, a little fabric ruffle, and some more of that gorgeous green bling from Laura. And then here, really love this, it's one of the vintage playing cards, and obviously I've inked these up, although they were kind of you know, vintagey looking in colour anyway. And then I just layered up a couple of elements onto there. So that's that. And I thought it looked really nice tucked behind there. And then you've just got some coffee dyed paper. And then here on this page, you have then got a belly band running down the middle with a vintage button, a piece from the paper pack. You've got a fabric ruffle, some lace trim and a bow. And then one of my little Principles just tucked behind there. And then I just made this little tag that just kind of tucks behind like that. And then I did have this one little ticket which I also made to pop in here, and I can't remember now where it was supposed to come from, but it had obviously fallen out, you know, at some point whilst I was kind of bringing the things over to film. So I shall go back through here and find where this actually was supposed to go, because I can't remember for the life of me where I thought it was, where I thought was the best place for it. But anyway, I shall find somewhere, rest assured, that I will pop this. I just wondered whether I'd left him as a tuck spot, but no. Or else I will just tuck him, you know, with something else on another page like that. But yeah, so I had good fun making both of these journals. I think they're both pretty different, even though they're using the same paper pack. They've actually come out incredibly different. So I had, you know, lots of fun doing that. So thank you very much to Shelley for that one, and this one obviously is available in my Etsy store, which is Shabbydabbydoodah. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks a lot then. Bye.